Today's top stories. President Duterte and President Sirisena of Sri Lanka expressed support for the war on drugs as they strengthen bilateral relations. Hunger in the Philippines has significantly dropped in the fourth quarter of 2018. Authorities prepare charges against those behind the exporting of trash from South Korea. And the Transportation Department supports a bill legalizing motorcycles for use as public transport.
Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The President of Sri Lanka is in the Philippines for an official visit to strengthen ties between both countries. The Sri Lankan leader has also expressed support for President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs and crime. Rom Dulfo has the report.
The Philippines and Sri Lanka signed 5 agreements as President Duterte officially welcomed Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena at Malacanang Palace. Sirisena arrived on Tuesday evening for a 5-day state visit, making him the first Sri Lankan head of state to visit the Philippines in 58 years since the two countries established diplomatic relations. The agreements consist of memoranda of understanding on defense and military education, agriculture, academic cooperation, and tourism. A memorandum of understanding was also signed between the University of the Philippines Los Baños or UPLB and the Sri Lanka Council for Agriculture Research Policy. President Duterte said the 5-day historic visit of his counterpart highlights the need to work closely together as developing maritime nations. The president said they also recognized that poverty and reduction and long-term sustainable development are cornerstones to improve the lives of their peoples. For his part, Sirisena assured Sri Lanka's cooperation in establishing concrete actions to address global and regional issues and that he wants to replicate Duterte's aggressive campaign against illegal drugs and crime. He also said he is impressed by Duterte's leadership for having led the nation to prosperity and economic growth while securing a people-centric foreign policy. The Sri Lankan leader invited President Duterte to visit Sri Lanka at an early date. He is scheduled to visit the Asia Development Bank and the International Rice Research Institute in Los Baños, Laguna. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
The House of Representatives has approved on second reading a new bill that would genuinely abolish the graft-ridden road board. The new bill contains amendments that were agreed upon during a meeting among Andaya, Senate Majority Leader Miguel Zubiri, and Senator Ralph Recto. The Congress leaders agreed in principle to abolish the road board and place funds collected from the road users tax under the General Appropriations Act. The previous version sought to transfer the management and control of the fund to the Departments of Public Works and Highways, Transportation and Environment, as well as special trust accounts in the National Treasury.
Makikita na po ngayon ng line item kung saan pong gagamitin ito. Hindi na po sa separate na pondo na ang BBM lang at yung mga miyembro ng road board ang nakakakita. So yung nakalagay pong pondo ngayon sa special account na yan, kumulang siguro mga 50 bilyones, ilalagay na po natin sa budget at iisa-isain po ang pupuntahan nilang proyekto.
The Department of Information and Communications Technology has launched a platform to monitor threats and defend the country's cyber infrastructure from cyber attacks. The Cybersecurity Management System project is set to be completed this year as part of the National Cybersecurity Plan 2022. Acting Secretary Eliseo Rio Jr. says the centralized monitoring platform would enhance the country's ability to act on all stages of cyber attacks. The project's first phase would cater to 10 government agencies that were identified as priorities. It would also monitor cyber threats in the dark web in the sport of law enforcement. The platform aims to build the resilience of the country and build up a trusted and resilient infrastructure. The Department of Foreign Affairs is seeking the aid of its counterpart as it monitors the case of 7 Filipino seafarers detained in Libya. This after the 7 seafarers' families appealed to President Rodrigo Duterte to facilitate their immediate release. Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. requested the assistance of Libyan Deputy Foreign Minister Lufti Al-Maghrabi during the Global Compact for Migration meeting in Morocco last month. and reiterated his request to Libyan embassy charge of affairs Ahmed Edeb last week. The Philippine embassy in Tripoli retained the services of a lawyer to represent the 7 in court. The 7 were among the 20 Filipino seamen on board the Liberian flag MT Levant, who were taken into custody in August 2017 on suspicion of fuel smuggling. The 13 other crew were released in February 2018. The Department of Health weighs in on medical marijuana, and the PNP sets guidelines for security tail of candidates. More on these and other news around the metro from Benj Bondoc.
The Department of Health and the Food and Drug Administration admit they cannot go full blast in studying the benefits of medical marijuana. Health Undersecretary Eric Domingo says medical marijuana has yet to be considered a registrable product in the country, and there is no law allowing research for it. However, other agencies including the Dangerous Drugs Board, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, and the Philippine Institute of Traditional and Alternative Healthcare are already studying the benefits of marijuana for medicinal purposes. House Bill 6517 seeks to legalize cannabis strictly for therapeutic purposes. Meanwhile, a task force from the People's Liberation Army Navy of China is in South Harbor, Manila for a 4-day goodwill visit. The Philippine Navy conducted a welcome ceremony and port briefing. This will be the second time a Chinese Navy ship visited the country during the term of President Rodrigo Duterte. In other news, the Philippine National Police will allow a maximum of 2 security personnel for candidates who need protection during the election campaign. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde says those going into a critical area will be allowed to coordinate with the local police for area security. Poll bets are expected to comply with requirements set by the PNP to determine if there is indeed a threat to their lives. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondoc.
Still to come, hunger in the Philippines has significantly dropped in the fourth quarter of 2018. Health officials in South Cotabato work on preventing the entry of African swine fever. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
The Philippines and Thailand signed a Memorandum of Understanding or MOU for greater information and media cooperation. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar and Minister Kobsak Putrakul signed the pact at the Government House. Andanar says the signing of the MOU is a vital event as the ASEAN continues to evolve and its members strengthen their partnership. He expressed gratitude to the Thai government for its collaborative efforts with the Philippines. Minister Potrakul cited the need for both Thailand and the Philippines to maximize the potential benefits for greater information exchange and media cooperation. Meanwhile, gains on the program to protect Filipino media practitioners continue, especially now that the Philippines has been removed from the top 5 deadliest countries in the world for journalists. Undersecretary Joel Eggo of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security, or PTFOMS, said they have so far received around 50 complaints of various crimes against journalists. These include cases of murder, frustrated murder, harassment, and theft. Eggo said they have acted on all reports, but upon investigation, only a few are work-related. The PCO official said PTFOMS is very proactive as compared to those established in the past, since they have set a 10-minute window time to act on the complaints they receive through the short messaging system or calls. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfa.
Hunger in the Philippines has significantly dropped in the fourth quarter of 2018, according to a recent Social Weather Station survey. The survey shows that 2.4 million families experienced involuntary hunger at least once in the past 3 months, from 3.1 million in the third quarter. The total hunger rate for 2018 is at 10.8%, significantly lower from 2017 and the lowest since the 7% hunger rate recorded in 2003. Malacanang welcomes the drop in the hunger rate, saying President Rodrigo Duterte's efforts have started to bear fruit. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo says this improvement is among the reasons why the president continues to win the trust and approval of Filipinos. He also noted that 6.6% economic growth rate under the administration is the highest in the first 2 years of all post-EDSA administrations. An Olongapo court has formally declared Hanjin Heavy Industries under corporate rehabilitation. The Olongapo Regional Trial Court Branch 72 suspended all actions or proceedings for the enforcement of all claims against Hanjin. It also suspends all provisional remedies against a Subic-based Korean shipbuilder and prohibits it from selling properties, as well as making any payment of outstanding liabilities. Meanwhile, it will be business as usual for Hanjin suppliers as long as it makes payment for their goods and services. The court also authorized Hanjin to pay its regular expenses as they become due. The firm suffered financial woes that forced it to trim down its workforce to around 20,000 last year. Hanjin revealed that it has $1.3 billion in outstanding loans. Charges will be filed against individuals found to be behind the import of tons of plastic trash in Misamis Oriental. The Mindanao Container Terminal says it is up to the National Bureau of Investigation to gather evidence and identify those who will be charged, and for the Bureau of Customs to assist the investigation. About 51 containers of assorted trash were shipped to Pyeongtaek City in South Korea last Sunday. The shipment was part of the 6,500 tons of waste that arrived at the MCT last year. The BOC and the Environmental Management Bureau found that SoKor, the company that imported the garbage, failed to comply with the necessary permits. The Korean government initiated the legal procedure to take back the garbage. Some 500 indigent villagers in Laguna receive medical services. Meanwhile, a project involving an emergency kit lands the DILG in Eastern Visayas in hot water. More on this and other stories from the provinces from Janice Cave.
In Los Baños, Laguna, almost 500 patients from Timuga village availed of free medical, dental, optical, and other health services under the Serbisyong Tama caravan. The provincial government program provides Lagunenses health support and social services and brings local government services to the grassroots and remote areas. Among the services availed from the caravan are child care, free eyeglasses, general and skincare checkups, geriatric, and dental services. Meanwhile, the Department of Interior and local government in Eastern Visayas denied that its distribution of emergency kits to its employees was meant for partisan activity. The DILG-8 distributed go bags or bags packed with emergency essentials such as water and first aid kits. A social media post by DILG-8 on the item has been since deleted. In South Cotabato, veterinary personnel have established quarantine checkpoints to prevent the possible entry of the highly contagious African swine fever. Personnel are also checking hand-carried meat products of tourists disembarking at the Makar port in General Santos City. The Department of Agriculture says the country remains free from the disease as it banned last month the entry of pork products from China and other countries with confirmed cases. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, the Transportation Department supports a bill legalizing motorcycles for use as public transport. The Department of Health teams up with doctors to stop hypertension. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Ito ang siyudad ng Tacloban, ang sentro ng Rehiyon 8 o Eastern Visayas. Ang siyudad na ito ay paunlad ng paunlad at ito ay resulta ng pagtutulungan ng iba't ibang sektor. Ang ating mga senior citizens ay naging bahagi rin ng kung ano ang Tacloban ngayon, kung kaya't nararapat lamang na alagaan natin sila. Ang social pension ng DSWD ay nagbibigay buhay sa ating mga senior citizens na walang pensyon galing GSIS o SSS o regular na suporta ng pamilya. Sino nga ba ang mga taong nasa likod ng programang ito? Si Maricor Gomez, 34 na taong gulang, Program Development Officer ng Social Pension, ay isa sa mga nagbibigay pag-asa sa ating mga elderly citizens dito sa Tacloban.
Ako po si Maricor Gomez, Project Development Officer 1 ng Social Pension. Yung pag-implement po namin sa UC, nahirapan po talaga kami. Kasi yung memo, nung na-receive namin, mga ilang araw lang, deadline agad. Even Saturdays and Sundays, nag-overtime kami, kahit until gabi nandito sa office, nag-encoding.
Kung kaya't siya ay nakikipaglaban sa oras para sa pamilya niya at para sa bayan.
Even Saturdays and Sundays po, nagtatravel kami, papunta sa mga munisipyo. Medyo masyadong maaga pa, mga 4 past 4 or past 5 a.m. gumigising na kami para mag-travel, para makadating doon sa munisipyo ng masyadong maaga, no? And then, uuwi kami ng late na ng gabi. So, syempre, yung family namin, especially yung mga kids po namin, medyo napapabayaan. Kahit yung mga special gatherings, hindi po namin pupuntahan, hindi po kami nakakapag-attend. Pero we make sure naman din na yung mga kailangan nila na pupunuan po namin.
Heto ang naging buhay niya ngayon. Ang araw niya ay nagsisimula ng maaga pa. Buti na lang may matulungin at maunawaing asawa at 3 mababait na anak. Baliwala ang pagod at oras na binubuhos niya sa trabaho. Ito ay nakabalot ng pagmamahal at kalinga.
The Department of Transportation welcomes a proposed bill legalizing motorcycle for hire services. The amendments to provisions of the Republic Act 4136 or the Land Transportation Code will recognize motorcycle as a public transport service. Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade ordered last December the creation of a technical working group to review the issue of making motorcycles as a mode of public transportation. Various issues covering the capability of motorcycles for public transport include overall capability, franchise routes, safety, and qualifications for drivers. Meantime, the House Committee on Metro Manila Development urged the DOTr to come up with a department order to regulate motorcycle ride-sharing services like angkas. The ride-sharing service was banned from plying the streets following an order from the Supreme Court against their operations. In our foreign news, British businesses urged the government to work on a Plan B after Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit deal was rejected overwhelmingly in the Parliament on Tuesday night. Catherine McGuinness, policy chair at the City of London Corporation, says businesses across the UK will continue to face uncertainty following the Parliament's decision to reject the government's deal. Carolyn Fairbairn, Director General of the Confederation of British Industry, expressed fears of a no-deal scenario. She urged members of Parliament to reflect on the need for compromise. Parliament voted against the Brexit deal after a 5-day debate, complicating the country's historic exit from the European Union. Prime Minister May has 3 sitting days to return to Parliament with a Plan B. Britain is due to leave the EU on March 29. Meralco and Northport consummated a trade giving the services of Garvo Lanet to the Batang Pierre. Northport, in exchange, will give up their 2020 second-round pick to the Bolts. The said move was made for Meralco to create a rotation room for John Pinto. Pinto was acquired from Phoenix on Saturday in a separate trade for Jason Ballesteros and its 2020 second-rounder. Lynette was, however, absent in the battle against Blackwater on Wednesday night, and its third overall pick, Robert Bullock, took the spotlight as they trounced the elite 117-91. Bullock scored 26 points on his first professional game. Pinto only made 3 points for Meralco as they lost to Calvin Abueva's late heroics for the Phoenix Fuel Masters 93-92. Hypertension and cardiovascular disease remain one of the most lethal diseases in the country. In Cavite, the government seeks to teach people how to prevent hypertension and live healthy. Joyce Cudas has a story.
According to the Department of Health, cardiovascular disease is one of the leading causes of death in the country, with 170,000 Filipinos dying each year. Data from the Philippine Heart Association shows that heart attack and stroke are the top killer diseases in the country, while 60 to 70% of Filipinos have not been treated nor seen a cardiologist. Among the causes of cardiovascular diseases are unhealthy lifestyles, stress, and lack of health care. To address the increasing prevalence of hypertension and non-communicable diseases, DOH partnered with the Philippine Society of Hypertension through its Cardiovascular Risk Assessment and Management Initiative program. The joint project seeks to have more Filipinos being assessed, screened, and diagnosed early. Director Eduardo Hanaira of DOH Region 4 says a strategic approach to these diseases is needed to avoid a high cost of diagnosis and treatment of hypertension and non-communicable diseases. It relies on early detection and care using cost-effective and sustainable healthcare intervention that are integrated into primary healthcare facilities, such as the barangay health stations, rural health, and other community health centers. The joint project is set to pilot in Cavite Province. Once it becomes successful, PSH President Dr. Alberto Atiliano says they will duplicate the program in the whole Region 4 and eventually in the entire nation. The program seeks to bring down the disease's prevalence by 3% in the next 5 years. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Joyce Goodies.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's top stories.
President Duterte and President Sirisena of Sri Lanka expressed support for the war on drugs as they strengthen bilateral relations. Hunger in the Philippines has significantly dropped in the fourth quarter of 2018. Authorities prepare charges against those behind the exporting of trash from South Korea. And the Transportation Department supports a bill legalizing motorcycles for use as public transport.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Roses Morato. Good day.